Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Robert Downey Jr. was freaking people out this morning. He posted a picture of him at lunch with the powers of the Marvel Universe, a lot of the Spider-Man, Avengers people. So this is just a breakdown of what's going on in the status of Iron Man 4 in the Marvel Universe. So what's going on here? This looks like a meeting of the Marvel Illuminati. Everybody in their post was saying, stay tuned, working on something really cool. So going around the table from left to right, you have the Russo brothers, Tom Holland, who's still working on Spider-Man. They're still shooting that right now. You have Jon Favreau, who is also guest starring in Spider-Man Homecoming. Robert Downey Jr., we know, is in Spider-Man. This person here next to Robert Downey Jr. is Roy Choi. He's kind of like a celebrity chef. Jon Favreau did a movie called Chef that was partially based on his life, and he was a producer on that. Then, of course, you know the Godfather himself, Kevin Feige. So Marvel looks like it's just shut down this restaurant for lunch in Atlanta, just having some sort of crazy meeting where they plan the end of the world. So a lot of you will know that Jon Favreau was a longtime director of the Iron Man films. He's kind of the guy who gave Marvel their big shot as a studio. When they were getting ready for the first Iron Man movie, it was a huge risk. They had a problem insuring Robert Downey Jr. It took a while because he was coming through a period in his career where he was still kind of cleaning up his image, and Marvel wasn't distributing its own films at the time, so they were still working with Paramount. So this was during the Marvel Paramount era before Disney bought them out around the first Avengers film. But this was all before Marvel had blown up. Nobody had seen Iron Man. They didn't know it was going to be amazing. They're like, oh my god, this is what a superhero movie can be. So Jon Favreau, very important to the Marvel Universe, but after Iron Man 2 just kind of decided to go off and make different films. He just did The Jungle Book, which did gangbusters at the box office. So Jon Favreau, still a very good, very popular director, very much in demand. Marvel's been trying to get him back to work on another project. He said that he would totally come back to do another Iron Man film eventually, but Robert Downey Jr., as of the last Iron Man film, when they were working on Avengers Age of Ultron, even a while ago, before Civil War started to happen, was kind of iffy on whether or not he was going to do another film. This is turning into a Marvel Behind the Blow documentary. So there was a lot of drama going on behind the scenes with the people, the executives up at the top that Kevin Feige was having to work with in making all these Marvel films. There are just a lot of things that didn't have anything to do with the movies that were making things difficult for them to do the things they wanted to do. So recently, you all know that Disney, basically Alan Horn up at the top at Disney, who's Kevin Feige's boss, said, okay, Marvel Studios, you can go off, do your movies, and be your own separate division. You don't have to report to anyone but me. Nobody's going to nickel and dime you anymore. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So they were able to kind of rework their relationships with all the actors and everyone who was you know what? Maybe I'm not going to be Captain America anymore. Maybe I'm not going to be Iron anymore. We're rethinking their strategy. Okay, yeah, I could totally come back for more movies. So really the big holdup with a new Iron Man film is them just selling Robert Downey Jr. on a good idea. He's just waiting, he doesn't need to make another film, he can do whatever he wants. He has more money than Jesus now, so he's really just waiting for the right story to come along. So as with all things at Marvel, even though they have a list of movies that they're working on right now, there's a warehouse of people just mining ideas, trying to turn things into scripts for ideas that might become movies down the road. There is an army of people pitching new ideas to Kevin Feige all the time, so that when he finds one that he likes, he brings it to Robert Downey Jr. and they say, hey, why don't we turn this into a movie? But really the bigger change, I think, that's going to get Robert Downey Jr. more excited about doing a new Iron Man story and the direction it might take is his relationship with Spider-Man now. What has changed in the Marvel Universe in a big way? We have Spider-Man. We have a high school franchise. So the Russos, when they were talking about how they sold Robert Downey Jr. on coming into Civil War, they pitched him the idea of a guilt-ridden Tony Stark, someone who was dealing with all this terrible stuff that had happened after Sokovia. So you can see when they're pitching Robert Downey Jr. ideas for new movies, they always start with Tony Stark's emotional arc. So when you're thinking about what they might do with Iron Man 4, think about where the Tony Stark character would logically go. What would he be doing? Well, he'd still feel a little guilty about the way things went down in Civil War and would probably want to make things right. And what would be better than helping a brilliant kid reach his full potential as a human being and as a superhero? So I feel like pending developments in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark has unofficially emotionally adopted Peter Parker. You can write whatever fanfiction you want to about the two of them, But Spider-Man, Iron Man have a long-standing relationship in the comics. It just makes sense that they would slowly move closer to that in the movies too. So here's the pitch for the next Iron Man movie, and they wouldn't be able to do it for a little while, but I think it'd be good. So after Infinity War, after Spider-Man Homecoming, there's so much crossover between the Spider-Man universe, which is a huge universe of characters, in Marvel's existing one right now, is they do a version of World's Most Wanted wherein Norman Osborn seizes control of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the wake of what happens during Civil War, Secret Invasion, Dark Avengers. Like, the government gets really heavy-handed in the Avengers. He makes a play for Tony Stark, who goes on the run, so it's basically Tony Stark versus Norman Osborn as the Iron Patriot. But I think it'd be better if he weren't Iron Patriot. So that's a bit more of like a Spider-Man, Iron Man crossover movie. Or if you wanted to go like the really big Civil War route, you know, like Civil War was a Captain America movie, but it was kind of like a backdoor Avengers film. You could also, like, the other really awesome thing that I would like to see them do would be all new, all different Avengers. So in the Avengers right now, Tony Stark's company isn't doing really great. There are 3 different Avengers teams, but the one that Tony is working with is the one with Miles Morales, Kamala Khan. It's basically like all these new characters, the female Thor. He's kind of like the father figure to all these young Avengers, so it would be more in the vein of the high school John Hughes Spider-Man Homecoming movie than a traditional Iron Man film. Because there's one of 2 ways that you can go with an Iron Man movie like this. But, you know, because it's the 4th movie, you can go really big, so you could do like all new, all different Avengers. Or 2, you could go way smaller, like in the way Iron Man 3 was a much smaller film than Iron Man 2. Fewer characters, tighter narrative. It would be more of like a psychological journey that Tony would go on. So a lot of this will depend on how he gets used, like what his scenes are like in Spider-Man Homecoming, but we kind of have an idea for what his relationship is with the Spider-Man character, so you can guess at what he's going to be doing. And I feel like Robert Downey Jr. also probably enjoys not having to hold a film up by himself. So what I think will probably end up happening is that instead of doing a solo Iron Man movie, they'll do like a Civil War type crossover that's more focused on Iron Man's character, but also revolves around a whole bunch of other new characters like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, like all the new people that you would try to usher into the Avengers. But let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do for the next Iron Man film? Big crossover like Civil War, or like a really small film like Iron Man 3? But keep in mind, there are so many films that they have on the schedule already that they're working on, so if they did do another Iron Man movie, it probably wouldn't happen until Phase 4, till after like the second Infinity War movie. So no, like a lot of people saw this and they're like, hey, is Jon Favreau gonna do one of the Avengers movies? No, the Russos are still directing both of the next Avengers films, and they're also writing it. That's not changing. None of this is changing. It's just that this picture's being taken in Atlanta, and Marvel's filming 2 films right now in Atlanta concurrently, including Spider-Man and Avengers Infinity War, and 5 of the people sitting at this table are starring in or actively shooting the films. So there's just like a whole lot of Marvel stuff happening, so it would make sense that if they're gonna have like a lunch and talk about big stuff, that they would invite the really big people associated with those films. So just a heads up that the Captain America Civil War Blu-ray is still going on. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So what's going to happen next is there's been a whole bunch of Luke Cage, Punisher Season 1, Wolverine, like they just announced that the villain of Wolverine 3 is going to be Mr. Sinister, so big freaking deal. So I'm going to do all those videos as fast as possible. Next video will be up Tuesday morning, so get hyped. There's going to be so much awesome stuff happening in the next couple of weeks. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here to watch the new Ghost Rider trailer, and you can click here for the Supergirl Season 2 trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.